Sanchez, Associate Administrator at the Small Business Administration, native Houstonian, and so always grateful to be back. Unfortunately, I don't like to come back in an official capacity. They have to be here, but this is important. Nobody's live, right? This is recording.
Perfect.
Great. So can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Great. So Francisco Sanchez, Associate Administrator at the Small Business Administration, Houstonian. No matter where I'm at, who I'm working for, how much time I spend in D.C. working for the Biden-Harris administration, Houston is home, always home, and the title that matters most to me is Houstonian. And while I'm always grateful to be back, certainly not into situations like this where this community is facing a time of crisis, unfortunately, like we've done multiple times over the past many years. But what it is nice to come back home to is the kind of collaboration that is critically important to making sure that we recover quickly as possible, making sure that we're providing all the resources that we need across this community where they're needed the most. So I've been in touch with Mayor Whitmire, who continues to work to make sure that across this city and this community we're providing those incredible resources. The judge and her team in the county that are well practiced, our office there of emergency management, delivering for the residents of Harris County. And so we're going to be joined here by folks that represent that coordination and that collaboration across local, state, federal, business, and nonprofit partners. Commissioner Garcia here as well, Council Members Peck and Kamen, and I know we've got some folks in the room. Council Member Castillo couldn't be here, but we're in his district right now. Congresswoman Fletcher and some other folks in the room really representing the kind of teamwork that it takes to recover. On behalf of the Biden-Harris administration, was here with the mayor last Thursday. We were actually in a meeting talking about how we would be better prepared at the state, local, and federal levels to surge in the resources we needed after a disaster. Then the storm rolled in. My commitment to Mayor Whitmire and this community was that the federal government would be swift in its response. The president signed the declaration within about 36 hours after that. The FEMA administrator, Criswell, and I were on the ground earlier this week, making sure that the two agencies that are the first federal agencies on the ground, SBA and FEMA, were here at the top leadership to ensure that this community would have every resource that it needs. And so what we are talking about today is the opening of two business recovery centers. We are opening one here at the University of Houston downtown, who has graciously hosted us. It will be open Monday through Fridays 9 to 6, Saturdays 9 to 4. Trinity Mendenhall on the west side with similar hours. We will be making announcements in the near future about more permanent facilities or what those hours look like. We have parts of this community that are barely getting power back. They have access issues, but right now we're not letting that stop us from being on the ground. So these two are open today. You can come in, get some one-on-one help. And while these are business recovery centers, what many people do not know is 80% of disaster lending goes to homeowners and renters, and about 20% goes to businesses. That's for almost any disaster across the country. And so don't let that stop you from coming in. We're the Small Business Administration, but we're here to help every part of the community recover. The last thing people want to think about sometimes is a loan. You have just taken an impact. You've just taken some losses. The last thing you want to think about is taking on additional debt. But the reality is recovery can be expensive. So let me tell you what I mean by low interest, long-term loans. For individuals, that's homeowners and renters, you can get up to $500,000 to repair your structure for physical damage, up to $100,000 for personal contents, and so furniture, clothes, your vehicle. We saw many vehicles that were impacted by this disaster. If you are a business, you can get up to $2 million to help with physical damage or economic injury and revenue loss. And this is the important point. For homeowners and renters, individuals, that interest rate for this disaster is as low as 2.66% for over 30 years. For businesses, that's as low as 4% over 30 years. And so that is how we're surging in access to capital that people need to recover. And this is particularly important for individuals that may have been impacted. When I toured this community a couple of days ago, I saw people already lining up debris. I saw trees already being put on the curb. I saw contractors at work. If you are a homeowner or a business or an individual that has already put your credit card down to pay for that, to jumpstart your recovery, or you have already incurred expenses, you can still come to SBA for a loan at that 2.66% over 30 years to reduce the interest that you're paying, or to give you the capital that you need to be able to recover. If you are a business and you are not physically damaged, as I've spoken to chambers across this region and entrepreneurs, I've heard from many businesses that have not been physically impacted, but they are seeing a loss of revenue. Either the power was out, they couldn't access their business, their employees were impacted, so they couldn't open, customers aren't coming back yet. For any number of reasons, if your business has a lack of revenue, Small Business Administration can offer you an economic injury disaster loan that will help you cover those general operating costs to help you get back on your feet. And this is critically important. Many of the lessons that we have launched at the Small Business Administration over the past 2.5 years have been the results of lessons learned in communities like this in Houston. To deliver on the President's commitment to tackle disasters head on, to fight climate change, to be there for quicker recovery as communities are impacted more and more. As SBA Administrator Isabella Casillas Guzman signed a sweeping reform to make capital easier and more accessible for every community. So if you get an SBA loan, you don't have to make a payment for 12 months and 0% interest. So that gives you a year to be able to do what matters most, and that is you can focus on your own personal recovery, and SBA will be here a year later to continue to work with you to get that loan going. So I will say, because we are in a community that is disaster prone, another change that we've made at SBA is focusing on resilience. Until about a year ago, you could come to SBA and up to 20% of your verified damage, you could get additional funds through our mitigation feature to build back in a way that's more resilient, but you could only build back in a way that helped you be more resilient against that particular disaster. So before, you could have taken a loan out now, but only mitigated against wind or tornadoes. Now, because of the changes we've made at the Small Business Administration, because of the lessons we learned here in Houston and Harris County in Texas, you can now use that mitigation feature to mitigate against any type of disaster that you might face in this community. So if you were impacted, you should think about not just mitigating against a tornado or wind. You can now use those funds to mitigate against flooding, hurricanes, or even ice storms, right, as we tackle more issues here. So those are the kinds of resources that we're opening. These two centers are to get help on the ground today. Along with FEMA and across the federal family, we'll be announcing more centers to come, but we wanted to make sure that we were on the ground as quickly as we could. So the commitment that we made last week from SBA to the mayor and this community that we would be here as quickly as we could, we've delivered on that promise. The commitment I'm making to you today is SBA will be here where we're needed, when we're needed, and we will be here as long as it takes. So I'll turn it over to Commissioner Garcia.
Thank you, Mr. Sanchez. And we're so fortunate. The other day I was making the comment that Mr. Sanchez's leadership in this particular role is special to Houston, Harris County, because he's one of us. And so we're very grateful to have you at the leadership of the SBA disaster recovery process, already demonstrating immense success and impact irregardless of the event that we have had to deal with. So thank you very much. And in particular, when tornadoes did touch Precinct 2 last year, hitting the city of Pasadena, millions of dollars were provided to that community through your respective programs. So we have not forgotten, and so we're very grateful. I do want to recognize Councilmember Kamen and Peck, and as was mentioned, this is District H of Councilmember Castillo's office, and we're grateful to have the leadership of Congresswoman Fletcher as well, advocating always for the Houston-Harris County region. To that end, let me just, I don't want to repeat everything that's been said by Mr. Sanchez, simply because it means more to come from him than anyone else. But we're immensely grateful. We talk about, and it's good to see Dr. Laura Murillo here with the Houston Hispanic Chamber, the largest Hispanic chamber in the country. And we always talk about how small businesses are the backbone of an economy. Well, I've always believed that you got to have the back of businesses to ensure that recovery does happen and to ensure that resiliency does begin to take place. So we're grateful that the SBA is thinking about the nuances of these particular events and how to get those resources closer to the ground that needs it the most. And having, again, Mr. Sanchez thinking about those details and those processes absolutely helps us stand up quicker, sooner rather than later, so that we can continue to move forward, recover, but then start the resiliency process as well. And then briefly in Spanish, más quiero reconocer que tenemos el liderazgo más bien de Francisco Sánchez, alguien que es de Houston y del condado Harris. Él es uno de nosotros, entonces nos da tanto gusto que tenemos alguien de nosotros trabajando al gobierno federal con la administración de empresas pequeñas. El trabajo que él lleva a cabo, ayudando a abrir los centros de recuperación para empresas después de un desastre, es sumamente importante, porque siempre hablamos que las empresas pequeñas realmente es la espalda de nuestra economía, pero si no estamos respaldando a nuestras empresas, obviamente no vamos a poder recuperar. Entonces, esto es sumamente importante para traer los recursos a las personas que lo necesitan mayormente para que podamos recuperar y comenzar el proceso de ser mucho más fuerte siguiendo adelante. Entonces, le damos todas las gracias. El mensaje para la comunidad hispana en particular, les quiero solamente decir, muchas veces tenemos duda de arrimarnos a los recursos del gobierno, sea el gobierno local, estatal, pero en este aspecto el gobierno federal. Por favor, si uno piensa y están escuchando esta nota y piensan que pueden necesitar estos recursos para su negocio, por favor, arríbense, hagan las preguntas, pero no tengan miedo, no se temen. Tenemos que trabajar juntos para asegurar que estamos ayudando al modo máximo para todas las personas que pueden cualificar. El estado migratorio no es de preocupación para nosotros. Deja que nosotros hablamos y podemos buscar modos para posiblemente trabajar a través de eso. Si uno tiene familia que son nacidos en este país, eso puede ser una entrada al proceso para recibir los recursos que uno necesita. Pero no tengan duda, no tengan miedo, por favor, arrímense y trabajen con nosotros para ver cómo podemos trabajar juntos. Últimamente quiero darle las gracias a los concejales Cayman y Peck. Y estamos en el distrito del concejal Mario Castillo, la ciudad y el condado trabajando junto con el gobierno federal. Esto es cómo vamos a seguir adelante y vamos a recuperar nuevamente, porque aquí en el condado Harris sabemos cómo trabajar después de estos eventos, porque todos trabajamos juntos y todos estamos juntos en esto. Gracias. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner and Mr. Sanchez. I'm Amy Peck, City Council member for District A and Vice Mayor Pro Tem for the city. I'm here with Councilmember Cayman as well. Our districts were among the hardest hit in this storm. We still have thousands of people in the city of Houston without electricity at this time. In both of our council districts and throughout the city, and we have many thousands more who just came on recently in the last day or so. And so for them and for the people who are about to come online, recovery is just starting for them. And it has been so amazing and heartwarming to see neighbors coming together, people helping each other. We've seen neighbors cut down trees that were blocking the road. We've seen people helping each other when a senior citizen needed assistance with something, with resources. And so businesses have jumped in to help. And so that has been really great to see. But unfortunately, we all know that sometimes some of these tasks for recovery are bigger than that. We've seen trees in people's homes, homes completely destroyed, cars destroyed, businesses destroyed from this storm. And so that's why this assistance is so necessary and so important. And so, Mr. Sanchez, thank you so much for coming in so quickly. Recovery is important now, not in months from now. And so thank you for being here. Thank you for being here now. We appreciate it. And to anyone in the city of Houston who needs this assistance, I encourage you to talk to them, see what you can qualify for, contact our offices too if you need any kind of help. We are here to assist. Thank you. Councilmember Kamen.
Thank you. Councilmember Peck, who's also our Vice Mayor Pro Tem, and I'm Abby Kamen. I'm the council member in District C. As Councilmember Peck said, our two districts, A and C, were two of the hardest hit by this. First and foremost, as the lights come on, the long road to recovery for many is going to continue. So we continue to hold all families impacted in our hearts. Our message today, though, is the cavalry is here. I want to personally thank Administrator Sanchez, who is a homegrown hero. And I mean that. You have been on the ground in more places in the United States than people will ever know, and our hearts are also with those in Iowa. As we continue to see the increasing impacts of climate change and severe weather, extreme weather, the flexibility of programs like this that the SBA has created to allow not just businesses who are the backbone of our economy and of our city, the flexibility to recover, but also for residents to recover, for nonprofits to recover, for renters. Sometimes our renters are our most vulnerable. So the fact that SBA is here on the ground means everything, and we should all be, I at least, and many, many hundreds of thousands of us are so grateful to the Biden-Harris administration for sending the cavalry in so quickly. There are staff here, employees here from our government, from all across the United States here to help in Houston, and we are very grateful for everyone that is lending a hand through this. One thing I wanted to add to what's already been said, as you come down either to UH Downtown or Trinity Mendenhall, please don't hesitate or be concerned about parking. I was speaking with the administrator, and there will be free parking and accommodations worked out. So please don't let any barrier to getting your questions asked and answered stop you. We are all here to help through our offices. Commissioner Garcia, all of Commissioner's Court has been an extraordinary partner through this event. Our congressional delegation, Congresswoman Fletcher, and of course Councilmember Castillo, whose district we're in. We are all in this together. We are Houston strong, and we are here to help.
Mi nombre es Mark Winchester. Trabajando SBA, yo tengo tres palabras. SBA, tenemos ayuda. SBA has help, and SBA has help for businesses, small businesses. SBA, we here are local. We have a district office here, and we're here before the storm, and we are here after the storm. I want to thank Associate Administrator Sanchez. Also want to thank Corey Williams, Sushil Kumar, Mariana Navarra. Also, we have Barbara Nidus, Dylan McNally, and then Naomi, Matt, Corinthians, Valerie, Kathy. We thank, and Sushil Kumar, we thank the SBA ODRR. Now, the local SBA district office, we have two mission essential functions during a disaster. Number one, to process 8A offering letters during a disaster. Number two, we are here to support the Office of Disaster Resiliency and Recovery. That's our job, and that's what we're here for. Associate Administrator Sanchez asked if I would share there was a best practice in Hawaii. Associate Administrator Sanchez was there, Sushil Kumar was there, Valerie was there, And one of the best practices that took place in Hawaii is that 8A firms were able to conduct contracts in Hawaii to assist the residents of Hawaii recover from that very great disaster from the fire that occurred there. So, Associate Administrator Sanchez, Corey Williams asked if the SBA Houston District Office, if we would communicate to the commissioners, to the county representatives and federal representatives to consider the possibility of opportunities as it applies to disaster procurement for our 8A firms. And that is what our ask is today. Thank you. Once again, my name is Mark Winchester, District Director, and now I turn it back over to the Associate Administrator. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark, for your leadership here. We also also had a Representative Jackson Lee's office here as well, so we appreciate that. What you see really here is a collaboration across federal, state, local, business, and nonprofit partners coming together to help Houston and Harris County and this community recover, while also making sure that the surrounding counties like Liberty, Walker, Montgomery, San Jacinto, Trinity, and a list of growing counties will have access to these resources in the days to come. Many of them are still underwater, and so we'll be rolling out there as soon as it's safe and accessible, and find facilities there. But our operational programs are ready. Lending.sba.gov. You can come to a Business Recovery Center to talk as an individual. As FEMA opens up disaster recovery centers, again, as we find places that are safe, accessible, and operational, we will be at each of those as well. Mark made an incredible point about the new approach of bringing the whole of SBA effort. And so we'll be doing multiple things that make it accessible. One of those is making sure, one of the things that we consistently heard, and I heard here in my time in Houston and Harris County, was that local businesses ought to be a part of the long-term recovery. And so we will be connecting a list of those firms that are local, 8A, underserved firms to state, local, federal, and private sector partners to say, hey, here are some businesses that if you need resources that you can go to. And that's been an incredible success. In Maui, working through that new initiative, we were able to make 83% of the federal spend, more than $350 million, to small 8A firms. And if we can do that in an island in the middle of the Pacific,
Right.
we can do that here in the continental United
Absolutely.
States. And the other thing that we're doing to make lending accessible and capital putting in the hands of small businesses and business owners is our reconsideration program. If you get denied, come back. We're going to work with you to do everything we can to get you to a yes. In Selma, an underserved community where we had a small business that got an initial denial, we went back, we worked with them, and we got them from a no to $400,000 in capital to help them thrive and to continue to serve that community. So those are the kinds of programs that we're delivering on the ground. And as we look forward, aside from just this disaster, is making sure that we're building the economy up post-COVID from the bottom up and the middle out. What we have seen throughout SBA's investments is 17 million new small businesses across this country in the past 3 years, more than any other 4-year period in the nation's history, led by women entrepreneurs and particularly entrepreneurs of color. We have doubled our lending. SBA has also doubled its lending to African-American-owned firms, doubled its lending to Latino-owned firms, increasing the number of women small businesses that are getting access to capital. And so our part, well, that is the incredible work of our district offices. SBA's Office of Disaster Recovery and Resilience is making sure that we protect that prosperity. So not just looking at this disaster as we roll out relief, is making sure that we will be making this community and businesses more resilient in the face of disaster so come. So glad to take any questions, and we'll point it to the right folks that are around us. Pooja. Thank you.
But I wanted to know what y'all are able to do sort of proactively to share this information. We know a lot of these families, maybe low income, maybe have language barriers. What are y'all able to do to make sure that they know how to navigate through the system?
One is leading from the ground up. I have every elected official that's been up here, I have seen personally in the past couple of days, sleeves rolled up, handing out water, handing out MREs, connecting those. So as we get those communities from them of where we ought to be, we're not waiting for them to come to us. As soon as we get a request from a community leader saying, here's where community is, here's where you need to go, here are the language issues, we will deploy teams in a way and work with them to make sure they know that we're there, that they're getting that message from a trusted partner, not just us, and making sure that we bring to the table every possible way we can do that. So we can do that easily in Spanish. If we find communities that need other languages, we have invested incredibly over the past year to make sure we have multiple languages that we can dispatch into the communities and accessible as possible. So right now, I intend to be here for at least the next week and a half, 2 weeks, to be very hands-on and be responsive to anything we hear. So for now, we're opening up 2 business recovery centers now because to get help on the ground right now today, anybody can come. We will be at every disaster recovery center that FEMA opens, and we're doing that with the city and county as they identify locations. But in addition to those 6 facilities, one thing that we have coming in the next couple of days is what we call a new investment, our portable loan outreach center. It's a tent, some tables, solar powered computers, and we will go out into communities, even if they don't have power yet or if they're barely restored so they don't have to leave, we'll go to them. And we will be sending that across the region as we need it. So we're in the early stages, but we'll be, if we hear there's a need and someone can tell us where that need is, we'll surge in the resources and we'll do that in as a culturally appropriate way as possible.
And then one other question, is there a time limit? Like, do people need to be doing this right now, or when does it become too late?
Sure. You have 90 days to apply for an SBA loan for physical damage, whether you're a business or an individual. And so I will slightly get off my lane here for a bit and tell you, register for FEMA today, just so they have you in the system. For SBA, you can come in, get a loan started. If you get approved, you don't have to take out that loan. You've got multiple months to decide whether you want to roll that money down. I would suggest that go ahead and just start that process now. For economic injury, this is important. That deadline, 60 to 90 days to apply for physical lending. If you are an entrepreneur or a small business that is not yet seeing your revenue come back up, it might come back quickly. It might come back at a slower rate. You have up to 9 months to come back and apply for economic injury disaster lending. One of the things that we see is sometimes a small business owner will not know for weeks or months as they look back at their bank statements how much of a hit they're taking, right? And so for 9 months, you can come in and apply for economic injury disaster lending. And if for some reason we need to look at that and extending that, we'll look at that. But right now, that's where we stand.
But is it sort of the sooner the better?
The sooner the better to come into those resources. If you apply for FEMA today and they have you in the system, no harm, no foul. You're registered. With SBA, you can start that process now if you think you might need access to that capital, and you can take down the loan or not. But the best thing to do is to start that process now so you're ready to pull down on those resources if you decide you need them. Hurry.
Will consideration be given at these sites for non-traditional business hours, for people, small businesses that might only be able to come in the evenings?
Yes, and so right now, these are 2 preliminary sites that we've got. So rather than wait on something that we can have long-term, these might turn long-term. But right now, these are open 9 to 6, Monday through Friday, 9 to 4 on Saturdays. And as we identify facilities that have the access and can let us operate there after hours as well, we'll be doing that as well. And additionally, as we work with chambers like the Hispanic Chamber or any chamber across this region that says, hey, we've got an event, it's after hours, or it's during events that already exist where we already expect business owners, we'll deploy resources there to be as accessible as we can be.
You mentioned prior to the press conference something about some of the opportunities given that some of the actual businesses may not have received actual damage. Talk to those individuals again, because I think that needs to be clarified.
Sure.
That they are also able to apply for some of these loans.
No, great question, Laura. Thank you. Because that's one of the things that I've heard in talking to chambers over the past few days and the past week and to small businesses is many didn't take any physical damage, but they're not seeing revenue because the power's out and they couldn't open, because people simply aren't spending money right now. People couldn't access, right? There's small businesses in downtown that someone can't access because of the falling glass. Similar situations like that across the region. If you are seeing a loss of revenue and it is creating a challenge for you to operate, you can get what we call an economic injury disaster loan. And that helps you cover common operating expenses, your rent, your payroll, any other common operating expense that you can apply for, and that is up to $2 million and as low as 4% interest rate with a 30-year repayment period, and you have a year before you have to make the first payment.
Well, to
Yes, and so this comes at an interesting time, this disaster, in which FEMA just rolled out an incredible set of reforms to make individual assistance more accessible. At the same time, SBA is also launching some additional reforms as well. FEMA has a program for gig entrepreneurs, solo entrepreneurs, folks that work out of their home. And so FEMA will provide you more information on that. But yes, you can apply for FEMA and SBA, and we will help you navigate that process as an individual and as a business owner. And so if you want more information, you go to SBA.gov. If you want more information about how to apply for this particular disaster, you can go to lending.sba.gov. I will add this caveat. One of the things that we're hearing is people are, you go in, you select the county, and people see Houston County, and they see Harris County. Apply for Harris County. Houston County is not, so that's just one of those quirky things. So I'll clarify that here. Thank council member for walking me through some of the challenges. What's unique is go to lending.gov, lending.sba.gov. It'll help you apply for this. And so again, this is the start of this. We'll be as responsive as we can be.
How many years in business are you required to qualify for a loan?
Let me get you back on that. It's at least a year. I don't know if Sushil, how long do you have to be in business before you apply for a loan?
We will do projection-based loans, but then it's 2 years. What was the question, goes from if you have
How long do you have to have a business?
2 years, but if you're a startup, so for example, we started December this year, we'll take your internal documents along with CPA prepared financial statements, your local agent financial statements, and we'll project it out with the assistance of resource partners and get those numbers for you. So if you just started a week ago, we'll use projections again, but ideally, it's 2 years, but we will take into consideration businesses that just started out.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Yeah, so thank everybody for their time. I'll probably step out, but I know not to put them on the spot, but I don't, Commissioner and council members are certainly welcome to take any interviews for you from that very local perspective about what they're doing and how this ties into their community. So thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. What do you need? What do you need out there?
Naomi Gonzalez,
Hotel vouchers and guidance, insurance companies not coming out till later next week. We have families.
You're welcome. How are you? Family okay?
Yeah.
We're good. We had a tree dance.